Yelling at someone on your team because they screwed up tells me that you're a lazy leader. Welcome to the 7-Figure Blueprint, where we share real-life stories of contractors just like you and dive deep into the steps they took to grow their business so you can too. My name is Garrett Bake. I've worked with hundreds of contractors, helping them scale their business to 7 figures and beyond. I was talking to one of my clients the other day, and he came into the office super pissed off and frustrated. And I was like, what's wrong? And he said, my controller just cost me $200,000. And I was like, what do you mean he cost you $200,000? And he proceeded to tell me the fact that bills had gone out when no money was in the account. And all that needed to happen was for this controller to see that they were a little delayed in collecting some checks. And it didn't make sense to send out those bills until those checks were collected, right? So as I was talking to him, I realized that he was going about this the wrong way. Now, I'm not here to judge him and I'm not here to judge you, but what I do want you to see is you haven't gone to school to learn to manage people. You haven't gone to school to learn to talk to people. You haven't gone to school to learn how to be a better leader. And so ultimately, how are you treating your people? Well, odds are it's probably the way you were treated. And you grew up in the trades, or you bought into the trades, or something around being a general contractor. All of a sudden, you're in this space, right? How do people treat each other on this space? They're crude, they're rude, they're ruthless, right? And they don't treat people the way that they need to be treated. And so if you're wondering why your people don't want to perform around you, or are you wondering why the people on the job site scatter when you show up, or are you wondering why you can't seem to keep people, odds are it's probably because you don't know how to lead them. It's probably because you don't know how to communicate with them, right? Because think about this. When a mistake happens, what is your response? You idiot, you moron, you effed up, you cost me money, you're worthless, I'm taking this out of your paycheck. What is your response? Is it one of those negative responses, or is it something that's solution-focused and oriented? Boss, I screwed up. What happened? This, and this, and therefore this happened. Great. That sucks. It happens. What are we going to do so it doesn't happen again? What are we going to do the next time this comes across your desk? What just happened? We took this problem that we're facing, and odds are probably going to face again, and we turned it into a learning experience. We turned it into this opportunity to say, hey, me being mad at you isn't going to accomplish anything, right? If you have the right employee, they're already mad at themselves. They're already stressed themselves. They may be crying, right? But ultimately, here's what most leaders don't understand. When somebody on your team makes a mistake, your role as the leader is not to point out the mistake and explain why it was wrong, okay? Because they're gonna take it personally. And yeah, it may be their fault, but it's still your responsibility. Your job as the leader, and it might require you to walk out of the room or go in your truck and yell and scream and hit the steering wheel a few times before you come out a little calmer, right? Maybe you do some woo-saw breathing. But your job is to show your team where they are in terms of skill set, okay? And what it is that they need to do to prevent this problem from happening again. You yelling at them, or you yelling at someone that already knows that they screwed up, is lazy leadership, right? It makes you feel better and makes them feel worse. What does it change about the situation? It doesn't change anything, right? So think about doing it this way. Think about sitting down with them and acknowledging what happened, but without emotion. I get it. This is hard. This is super hard. Like my wife, love her to pieces. We work together, right? And she's managing the day-to-day of the projects. So she's managing the subs, and she's managing the PMs, and she's managing the change orders, and she's managing the customers, the clients. She's managing all of this stuff, right? And she gets stressed out. And when we sit down and we talk about things, okay, we're not talking about the problems, right? We're talking about mistakes are part of the business. We're talking about things don't always work out the way we want them to. But we're skipping the blame, okay? Me blaming you for something is not going to solve the problem. Now, do I want you to be accountable? Sure, absolutely. This is not the time or the place, okay? This is the time for figuring out the solution. I don't want you to feel bad or so bad about the mistake that you made that the next time it happens, you would rather cover it up. I don't want to. That's going to cost me way too much money. So the focus needs to be forward, right? In other words, what's the plan for next time? What am I doing to make sure that this doesn't happen again? This is where learning happens. You want your team to be better. Give them the opportunity to become better. Give them the opportunity to learn and grow. Don't shame them. Don't guilt them into it. Okay? The next step, document the learning. In other words, if there should have been a process to follow, then let's create the process. If the process wasn't followed, well, why? Is there something that we need to change about the process to make sure that it gets followed next time? Okay? What you're going to see is your team becomes more loyal to you because what they expect is to fully get berated, yelled at, sent home, dock pay, all of those things. Now, I'm not saying there's not a time and a place where that's necessary, but what I'm saying is for most mistakes, if you focused on the solution instead of the problem, what would happen? Well, first of all, your employees would not be leaving. They would not be saying, sayonara, this guy's an a-hole, I never want to work with him again, right? Your job as the leader isn't to punish mistakes. Your job as the leader is to point out the gap between where they are and where they need to be. And more importantly, help them figure out the path to get there. So the next time that something happens, okay, instead of asking, how could you let this happen? Or how could you do this? Say something like, what's the plan for next time? I understand it. It was a mistake. I get it. What's the plan to make sure this doesn't happen again? Or instead of saying this is unacceptable or you're worthless, say something like, what system or what process that we have or should have could have prevented this, right? Instead of making them feel stupid, make them part of the solution. Because here's the truth, right? Mistakes aren't the problem. It's what happens after the mistake that determines whether you're building a true business that has standards, culture of excellence, right? Or you're creating a business where everybody fears you and they're literally just looking for the next opportunity to leave. Mistakes happen. What are you going to do about them next time? All right, if you'd like to learn more about being a better leader, leading from the front, empowering your people, we'd love to have a conversation with you. Go to buildpro.io, schedule some time, and we'd love to see what we can do to help you continue to grow your contracting business. All right, you know what time it is. It's time to get after it. 3, 2, 1, off you go. Thanks for listening to the show. If you're a contractor doing at least $500K in revenue and still stuck wearing every hat, if your team exists but your systems don't, if cash shows up but clarity doesn't, and you don't know what to do next, go to buildprosystem.com and book your free business breakdown. We'll show you why you're stuck and, more importantly, how you can break free. So go to buildprosystem.com and schedule your free business breakdown today.